This is amazing. Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com. Unfortunately, no, we're not going to review these skis today. I just thought they matched my shirt. Today we're going to talk about the 2022 Ripstick 106 Black Edition. We released our review of the 96 Black Edition for 2022 way back in like mid-January. So it's been a little over 2 months since we first talked about that ski, since we introduced it to you guys. You could also buy it that same day, and along with the 96, there was also an early release of this 106 Black. This review is a little different. I really wanted to bring Bob in. Basically, like right after we did the Ripstick 96 Black review, I knew that I wanted to do a 106 Black review. I just didn't know when we were going to fit it in. So I basically just like gave Bob a 188 Ripstick 106 and was like, just keep this with you. And he ended up skiing it a lot throughout the winter. So I really wanted to bring him in for his input and have more of a conversation style review, kind of like we did pre-pandemic. We're not quite to the point here at Ski Essentials where we feel comfortable having Bob and myself in the studio at the same time, at least not unmasked. So we decided to do it on Zoom. So most of this review will be a Zoom chat between Bob and myself that we did earlier today. But I thought we'd start by just kind of doing a recap or sort of like a refresher on construction and shape and all that stuff. So this is it. That's the demo that I've been skiing. Bob still has that 188 in his truck. Basically, the gist of these skis is they took the existing shape of the 2021 Ripstick collection and made a Black Edition version of them. So this is the same shape as the Ripstick 106 non-Black Edition. Shape is pretty interesting. You know, that's an important thing for these skis. Overall, it's fairly straightforward. You know, there's camber underfoot. There's some rocker in the tips and tails. There's not like a crazy amount of rocker, but it's enough. As a quick show of rocker profile, about one hand to the other is kind of the cambered section, and that's where the rocker starts as well. The interesting part about these skis is the amphibio profile. So there's a right and a left ski. This is the left ski, this is the right ski. And it's pretty hard to see. You won't be able to see it on camera, but essentially the inside edges have more camber and the outside edges have more rocker. So in the tips and tails, the rocker starts earlier on the outside edge. And then there's construction. So construction of these skis is also pretty darn unique and kind of follows that same asymmetrical style or asymmetrical trend. So pretty much the same build as the Ripstick 106, again, the non-black. In this ski, we get full width carbon underfoot. That carbon then kind of tapers and is just positioned along the inside edge, both in the tip and tail of the ski, but it kind of ends right before the real tip or tail starts. So about there in the tail and about there in the tip. That's where the carbon ends. You also get vapor tips, so they kind of take some weight out of the tip. And then probably the biggest new element in these skis is quad rod. So we talked about that quite extensively when we did the Ripstick 96 review. We've talked about the carbon rods that Elan uses in other videos as well. They're basically three-dimensional carbon rods that kind of run through the core of the ski. There's two along the edges, pretty much full length tip to tail, not quite, but almost. That's true on the non-black edition as well. And then this ski gets two additional rods, kind of one right in the forebody of the ski and one in the aft section of the ski, so to speak. They don't quite meet underfoot, those two rods. 1,900 grams. This 180 centimeter is 1,900 grams, and it's an $850 ski. So it's a little bit more of a premium price tag than most competitors in this category. And Bob and I kind of talk about why that is and kind of how you can justify the increased price. So yeah, the rest of the video will be the conversation between Bob and myself. As usual, let us know if you have any questions. I hope you enjoyed this. It's a little different, kind of getting back to what we traditionally did. So yeah, really excited to get back in the studio with more people and have more of this style review. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you guys out there on the slopes. Hey, Bob, how are you?
Good, Jeff. How you doing?
Good. It's not too long until we can do these back in the studio together.
I can't wait.
Pretty sure you got your first COVID poke in the arm just the other day, right?
Yep. And I'm about a few weeks away from my second shot, so looking forward to that.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, in the meantime, I really thought this would be a good one to bring you in because you skied these a lot this winter, right?
Yeah, I kind of, in that paragraph I wrote you, I counted, I think it was 8 days that I spent on these. So like, over the course of a couple of weeks, that was about the amount of time I had on them, which is another thing I wrote, which is more than I usually spend on like a test or a demo ski. So
Yeah.
Didn't really want to take them out of the back of my car, to be honest.
Yeah, so kind of more like a long-term test for these
Yep.
skis, which I think is cool. And I'd say between your testing and when I've skied them, the media day that we had with Elan way back in January, like between all those things, and even like today specifically, we've probably skied them in like just about every snow condition you can possibly think of.
Yeah, and that's and the way that they perform is a real testament to how they're built.
Yeah.
And especially in this shape and width, it's pretty impressive what they're able to pull off.
Yeah, so let's just kind of like run through some different snow conditions and different terrain.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of silly to start with groomers for a ski that's 106 underfoot, but I also think it's like a good jump off point. To me, there's a lot of similarities between the 96 and the 106 and how they perform on groomers. Just a little slower getting up on edge, not as quick edge to edge, and maybe lose a little bit of torsional stiffness. But what do you think? What's your impression of them? Just cruising groomers, just linking carves and what have you.
I mean, like I'm personally pretty slow to get up on edge too, so I find that actually match up pretty well with a little bit of extra width. It's kind of it is like a little bit slower to start, but it just has that great middle gear and then that kick at the end that is for a 106 is just incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
And we talked about that since the first time we get on these is like, wow, how do they make this thing 106 underfoot with no metal carve like a much narrower ski with much more material? Yet somehow they do it. And those carbon rods and tubes and that wider carbon sheet just have a lot to do with it. It's really a successful application. But yeah, once you're up on edge, like I actually kind of felt like the 106 is, I wouldn't say a better carver than the 96, but a surprisingly good contender with it. Just because there's more material in it. So that wider ski, you get a little bit more material, and it's gonna react accordingly. So, sometimes if it's too wide and too light, it's gonna get flimsy. But I think this is a really good mix of, material and stiffness.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, I skied the 106 before I skied the 96, and yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually put the clip of me skiing for the first time as the intro to this video. And yeah, I mean, I was like stopped and was just like, that's amazing.
Well, I remember filming you. I remember filming that segment and, thinking, wow, like that's not what I was expecting out of this ski,
Right.
even for, a strong skier like yourself. I was not expecting it to come across the hill like it did. And you could really tell that, you were able to really generate that high edge angle in these skis. It was pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah, and what I really like about them, just carving and stuff like that, is how they really trench into turns. It's wide enough that kind of like it's almost like forgiving when you're on a wider ski carving. Like I've booted out like I don't know, you've seen every single one of them, I think, but a handful of times this season. And I feel like on a ski like the 106, like you can just get as far over on edge as you want without really like worrying about that, which is
Yep.
kind of cool. So you like, you give up some precision, like it's not like a front side ski. Like it's not like if we skied
Right.
it back to back with like a wingman or something like that, there's noticeable difference. But yeah, when you're in a turn, they're pretty darn good. I think, I really like the way that they flex too. It's
Yep.
not like a stiff, super stiff ski. So you get a lot of strong torsional stiffness, but it'll allow you to kind of like, again, like trench into that turn quite a bit.
Yeah, I think the one condition I didn't get them on was really firm, you know,
Yep.
traditional Stowe, Vermont early morning groomers. I think the groomers that I did have were on the softer end of the spectrum.
Sure.
Um, so I would imagine that they would hit their limit at some point, on traditional Stowe hard pack. But as far as a limitation goes for a 106, that's more than acceptable.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. And then, regrettably, we don't really have much footage of like skiing trees on them and stuff like that. But I know, just because you had them in your truck for a while and you had them with you when we were in like a pretty good, like span of snow conditions. It was like that mid-January to mid-February period here in Vermont where like it never really went above freezing and we had pretty darn good snow. So yeah, what do you think? I know the terrain that you like to ski at Stowe. It's a lot of really tight trees. Um, what do you think of them in that application?
Yeah, I mean, rest assured, I did ski them in the trees, but I was mostly by myself. So, obviously no camera on me, but really, really impressive. I think we were just touched on weight before this, the 180s, 1900 grams.
Yep.
So this 188 behind me that I've been skiing, probably 50 more grams, I would
Yeah,
say,
maybe
in terms
2000.
of a guess.
Yeah.
But that combined with kind of the amphibio rocker profile and just the kind of flatter base of the ski makes it really easy to pivot. So not only, and just to go back to the groomers for a second, they are really easy to just throw sideways in the middle of your turn, and that held over through the woods too, so that if you did have to make a sudden maneuver in tighter spots, it was not a big deal. And then I did get them in the fresh snow in the woods, and it's about as great as you'd expect.
Yeah.
That really wide shovel just planes right up on top, and it's soft enough to make quick turns. And obviously, the width underfoot's going to stay on top of pretty much any depth that we get around here.
Right.
So no fear of submerging the skis at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, just really quick and maneuverable. Again, just I feel like a broken record saying 40106, but it is like that's the really impressive part is how they react for how wide they are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're pretty impressive skis, and I that ability to throw them sideways. That's something that I think about on this ski a lot too. Is they'll match a lot of different types of skiing styles. If you're the type of skier that makes like a lot of kind of moderate speed, like more rounded turns, I think they do that really well. But for another type of skier that's more like direct down the fall line and then like slash a turn over here and then straight and then sideways and straight and sideways, I think they do that really well too, which is fun and kind of unique for a directional ski, in my
Yeah.
opinion, to have that kind of slashy feel. Like I did that a couple times today when we were filming this morning, and I always like worry when I do that. I'm like, is he right behind me? And like, if I put my skis completely sideways, are we just gonna have a tremendous crash here? But yeah, no, I think they're very agile, and have a pretty surfy, smeary feel. Um, Something that I find on these, specifically the Black Edition ripsticks, but I think it's true for all the ripsticks. It kind of reminds me of the QSCs, and it's something that came up today, is just how well they transition through different snow conditions. So
Yep.
you can go, from soft snow to firm snow to soft snow and firm snow, and the ski doesn't really like complain about that. It feels pretty consistent in its performance through different snow conditions, which I like.
Yeah, definitely. And today was a good example of that because we did have that really distinct mix of a soft turn here and a hard turn there. So even within the span of maybe 5 turns or over the course of a half a run, we got everything you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And there aren't too many skis out there that do that with minimal complaints.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Pretty cool. They're not the cheapest skis out there, but I think it's one of those things where like, this comes up with like Stokely and Kesley a lot. Is like you kind of get what you pay for. And this with this Ripstick Black Edition, I'd say it's fair to say that it's like $150 to $200 more than most competitors. But the way that it blends a lightweight feel with maneuverability and stability and just the ability to ski different snow conditions is, I think it's worth it, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, and just the amount of engineering that went into it,
Right.
we've talked about those carbon tubes, carbon rods in the past, and just how they put them in there, under pressure, and that you get a tremendous amount of energy in a multiple dimension type
Right.
of way. That just doesn't pop out of thin air. Someone's got to think about that, and then they have to put it into the ski. So, there's a lot of the engineering and then the construction aspect that goes into it, that makes this feel like a more sophisticated ski. So yeah, you do get, you're going to get that higher price point for that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so yeah, I mean, great skis. I think it's fair to say that for most people on the East Coast, as like a daily driver, the 96 is probably the better choice. Like if it's truly your daily all mountain ski. To me, the 106 feels more like a East Coast powder ski. But I could see somebody skiing it every day. I mean, like you for example, pretty much skied it every day for a period there. I think somebody out west, on the other hand, could certainly choose it as like daily driver ski. I feel like this thing would be a blast, just ripping around like wide open western terrain.
Yeah, absolutely. And given my current quiver, I mean, we've just finished our quiver video, so it's pretty funny to think about it in that regard. But starting from scratch, you're right. Like here, maybe the 96 would be a better choice.
Right.
But given what I have currently, this would probably be the one that I would add.
Yep. Yeah, interestingly for me too, somebody actually, my quiver video went up 2 days ago, and somebody commented and said like, considering the high praise you've given the Ripstick, like I'm surprised you don't own one. And yeah, I think Ripstick 106 Black, that would be the best ski for me to add to my quiver too. Between that and the 96, I think I'd probably do something like put a shift on it and have like a directional powder slash touring ski, which I think is pretty perfect. And we haven't really brought that up yet, but I do think it's a great candidate for the hybrid resort touring binding.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I prefer the chairlifts, but if you were gonna do that, this would be a good one, and it would match really well too with the color scheme.
Right? That black shift would look
Yeah,
pretty sleek.
and we have
Sweet
to
spot.
take all these. Yeah, we have to take all of these things into account.
Absolutely. Color is very important. Um, and also J Skis just announced I don't know if you saw this video from J Skis, but their Velcro Tech Black Edition bindings for April Fools. Those would look great on there too.
Yeah, I don't know how we got up on the chairlift with that setup. It's
I
pretty
said the
impressive.
same thing. I had noticed that he was riding the chairlift at Stowe, and I was like, I don't know how he got that by the Vail Resorts, but good job.
Yeah, it's pretty
Um,
good.
well, Bob, anything you want to leave people with on this Ripstick 106 Black?
I don't think so. I think we've both had really positive experiences on both of the 96 and the 106.
Yep.
Not to mention the rest of Elan's line, coming out last year and this year. So, just, they really stay true to their fun loving roots.
Yep.
But they just add that extra little bit of power that I think just makes a lot of sense. Especially for bigger skiers like me, 225 pounds. I definitely, by the book should be on something with some metal in it, but this kind of gives people like me an option where if I don't want to have such a heavy or burly ski, but still want that performance, this is just, it's right in that wheelhouse.
Yep, totally. Well, Bob, I want to thank you for joining me.
My
Um,
pleasure.
hopefully all of you guys enjoyed this. And yeah, like I said, pretty soon we'll be back to kind of multiple people reviews in a more conversationalist style, which will be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, we'll catch you later, Bob. And for everyone else, let us know if you have any questions, and we will see you guys out there on the slopes.
Bye.